St. John of Damascus on Heresies. Prologue. The parents and archetypes of all heresies are 4 in number, namely barbarism, number 2, Scythism, number 3, Hellenism, number 4, Judaism. Out of all these come all the rest. Number 1. Barbarism is that which prevailed from the days of Adam down through 10 generations to the time of Noah. It is called barbarism because of the fact that in those times men had no ruling authority or mutual accord, but every man was independent and a law unto himself after the dictates of his own will. Number 2. Scythism prevailed from the days of Noah down to the building of the Tower of Babel, or Babel, and for a few years after the Tower period, that is to say, until the time of Phaleg and Regau. These last migrated to the regions of Europe and from the time of Ther, from whom the Heresies sprung, and on, have been associated with the country and peoples of Scythia. Number 3, Hellenism arose from idolatry in the time of Sarug. Since in those times everyone was given to superstition, when the races of men had begun to turn to a much more civil way of life, they turned also to idolatrous rites and usages. And they began to deify men who had once walked among them. At first, they painted with colors and made pictures of those whom they had once held in esteem, whether tyrants or sorcerers or men who in their lifetime had done something deemed worthy of note and in the line of courage or bodily strength. Then after idolatry had been introduced, beginning with the times of Ther, the father of Abraham, they first put the potter's skill to use for the making of figures of their dead. And when they applied every art to their portrayal, the builders sculpturing in stone, the gold and silversmiths fashioning out of their own materials, and similarly the woodworkers and so on. The Egyptians, however, together with the Babylonians and Phrygians and Phoenicians, were the first to introduce this kind of cult with its statues and mysteries. From them it passed to the Greeks, first in the time of Cecrops, and from then on. Then, considerably later, the cults of Kronos, or Coronos, Ares, Zeus, Apollo, and the rest of the gods were introduced. Now, the Greeks are called Hellenes, after a certain Hellenus, who was one of those who had come to settle in Greece. However, according to others, they are so called from the Elea, or olive tree, which sprung up at Athens. Their progenitors were the Ionians, who, by accurate report, descend from Javan. He was one of those engaged in the building of the tower, when the tongues of all were confounded, which is the reason for their all being also called meropes. That is to say, men of divided voice, because of the division of the tongues. Later on, as time went by, Hellenism split up into such sects as those of the Pythagoreans, Stoics, Platonists, and Epicureans. Because there was an ingrained religious sense which, along with the force of the natural law, had existed distinct from those nations and midway between barbarism and Hellenism, from the foundation of the world down until such time as it converged with the religion of Abraham. Number 4, Judaism had from the time of Abraham received the seal of circumcision. By Moses, who was 7th after Abraham, it was committed to writing in the law given by God. From Judah, the fourth son of Jacob, surnamed Israel, through David, who was the first of the tribe of Judah to rule, it acquired the definitive name of Judaism. It is apparent that the apostle was summarizing these four heresies when he said, "In Christ Jesus, there is neither barbarian, nor Scythian, nor Greek, nor Jew, but a new creature."